You have probably been through this before. You see an anti-dandruff shampoo recommended everywhere. You try it, and for the first 2 weeks everything feels perfect. Your hair becomes smoother, your scalp feels clean, and it feels like you finally found the answer. But the good time does not last. By the second bottle, or a few months later, your scalp starts to itch. The flakes come back, sometimes even more than before. Most people then say, "My hair has developed a tolerance to this shampoo." But is that really what is happening? The truth is that hair is made of dead cells. It cannot develop drug resistance or tolerance in a biological sense. What is really causing the problem is a microscopic conflict on your scalp, plus shampoo ingredients that do their job a little too aggressively over time. To understand this, you need to separate hair from scalp. A hair strand is a fully keratinized structure made of dead cells, mostly keratin. It has no metabolism, no nerves, and no blood supply. That means hair cannot adapt the way living tissue adapts. It cannot mutate like bacteria, and it cannot change receptor sensitivity like living human cells. So hair itself cannot become tolerant. The scalp is different. The scalp is living skin. It has sebaceous glands, sweat glands, immune cells, and a complex ecosystem of microbes. The scalp produces a lot of oil, often more than most other parts of the body, and that oil becomes a rich food source for microorganisms. The scalp also reacts to chemical stimulation, such as cleansing surfactants and preservatives, by triggering immune responses. The microbial community can shift as the environment changes, including changes in acidity, oil composition, and the concentration of antifungal ingredients. So when people say a shampoo stops working, what is often happening is that the scalp environment and the microbial community have adjusted to long-term, single-type chemical pressure. In medicine, rapid tolerance describes how the body responds less strongly to a drug after repeated exposure. But in the shampoo scenario, the main entity developing this kind of tolerance is not the human host. It is the microorganism living on the scalp, especially a yeast called malassezia. This change is not always classic antibiotic-style resistance. Genetic changes can exist, but the more common pattern is functional adaptation. For example, if malassezia is exposed for a long time to low, non-lethal levels of antifungal agents, it can protect itself by forming a biofilm. A biofilm is like a shield, a physical barrier that reduces how well active ingredients can penetrate. When one type of shampoo is used for a long time, the scalp balance can drift. Microbes that were once suppressed can regrow under the protection of this barrier, dandruff returns, and it creates the illusion that the product failed. So how does dandruff form in the first place? Malassezia is actually a normal resident on human skin. Two common types are Malassezia restricta and Malassezia globosa. Compared with many other fungi, Malassezia lacks key genetic tools for making certain fatty acids. In simple terms, it depends on oil from your skin. It cannot efficiently produce long-chain fatty acids on its own, so it must break down the oil secreted by the scalp. It does this by releasing enzymes that split skin oil into smaller components, including free fatty acids. This is the biochemical starting point of dandruff. Malassezia tends to use certain saturated fatty acids to build its own cell structures, while leaving behind other byproducts, especially an unsaturated fatty acid called oleic acid. Oleic acid can penetrate the outer skin layer very effectively and weaken the skin barrier. In sensitive people, once oleic acid gets deeper into the skin, it triggers inflammatory signals. That speeds up skin cell turnover. Cells shed before they fully mature, and they come off in visible sheets or flakes. That is what you recognize as dandruff. Anti-dandruff shampoos usually work by adding antifungal active ingredients that suppress malassezia. Different ingredients work in different ways, which is one reason relying on only one type for a long time can lead to weaker results. Zinc pyrithione was once one of the most widely used ingredients. It helps bring copper ions into fungal cells. If the copper level inside the cell rises high enough, it becomes toxic and disrupts essential functions, slowing fungal metabolism, though this depends on local metal-ion balance. Ketoconazole is another common antifungal. It blocks a key enzyme needed for fungi to build a major component of their cell membrane. When that membrane cannot be built correctly, the cell becomes unstable and dies. Selenium sulfide works in two ways. It suppresses fungal growth and slows how quickly skin cells on the surface renew and shed. When you use the same shampoo for a long time, you apply one repeating pressure to the microbial community. Malassezia may not develop resistance as quickly as some bacteria, but studies suggest it can still adapt by increasing survival-related activity, or by pumping the drug out of its cells more efficiently, lowering the concentration of antifungal agent inside the organism. The most powerful explanation for the feeling that a shampoo stops working is biofilm formation. A biofilm is a structured community of microbes attached to a surface and wrapped in a matrix that the microbes themselves produce. This matrix is made of sugars, proteins, genetic material, and fats, and it can make up most of the biofilm mass. On the scalp, malassezia does not always live as free-floating cells. In oil-rich zones around hair follicles, especially with constant antifungal exposure, cells can gradually gather and produce this matrix, forming a biofilm. Once established, it blocks antifungal agents both physically and chemically. The dense matrix acts like a wall, making it harder for active ingredients to reach deeper layers. Microbes inside biofilms can be far more tolerant than free-floating microbes, and deeper layers often contain low-activity, almost sleeping cells. Many antifungal agents work best on active cells, so dormant cells are much harder to eliminate. Over time, using the same shampoo can end up selecting for strains that are better at forming biofilms. The shampoo may kill organisms on the surface and reduce symptoms short-term, but the deeper reservoir remains. When the biofilm becomes mature enough, or when the host condition changes, the microbial community can surge back and dandruff flares again. That is when people say, this shampoo no longer works. This also explains why switching approaches can feel like a miracle. Ingredients like selenium sulfide or salicylic acid may penetrate better or disrupt the biofilm structure more effectively. But microbes are not the only factor. Another big reason people think dandruff increased is product buildup. This is not true dandruff from a biological disease process. It is residue that accumulates over time. Many modern shampoos clean and condition at the same time, often using positively charged conditioning polymers such as polyquaternium compounds or conditioning GAR derivatives. During rinsing, water dilutes surfactants, and these polymers can bind with negatively charged surfactants and form complexes that do not dissolve well, depositing onto surfaces. Damaged hair carries more negative charge, so deposits fill gaps and create a smooth feel. But scalp skin also carries negative charge, so the film can form on the scalp too. These polymers are designed to stick and are not easily washed away. If someone repeatedly uses a strongly conditioning shampoo, each wash can add another layer. If cleansing is not strong enough or rinsing is incomplete, buildup grows. Over time, it traps dust, oil, and sheds skin cells. When it dries and cracks, it can break into grayish-white, waxy particles that look like dandruff, sometimes called chemical pseudo-dandruff. Water quality is another overlooked factor. In many places, tap water is hard water with high calcium and magnesium. Many surfactants can react with calcium and form insoluble deposits that reduce cleaning efficiency. These deposits can also stick to the scalp, causing irritation and itch. Calcium can even help stabilize biofilms. Without enough chelating agents, long-term washing can lead to mineral buildup on hair and scalp, leaving hair dull and dry and making the scalp environment worse. And sometimes, the problem is not fungus at all. It can be cumulative damage to the scalp barrier from chemical exposure, leading to contact dermatitis. Strong anionic surfactants remove oils but can also strip barrier lipids like ceramides and cholesterol. When the barrier is weakened, water loss increases and the scalp becomes dry. Skin cells then release inflammatory signals, and even low-grade inflammation can speed up skin turnover and create fine flakes. There is also allergic contact dermatitis, an immune-mediated delayed reaction. Someone might use a shampoo for years without issues, but immune memory can build up. Once a threshold is crossed, it can trigger an eczema-like reaction with redness, itching, and sometimes oozing. Unlike ordinary dandruff, allergic dermatitis often involves intense itching and can spread to the hairline, behind the ears, or the neck. Acidity also matters. A healthy scalp is mildly acidic, around 4.5 to 5.5. Many shampoos, especially soap-based or very strong cleansing formulas, are more alkaline. Over time, this can neutralize the natural acid film and shift the scalp environment in a direction that favors malassezia growth. It can also cause the hair cuticle to swell and lift, increasing friction and damage. So after hearing all of this, you can ask a practical question. When your dandruff suddenly flares up, is it really because your hair became tolerant? Or is it because the scalp ecosystem adapted, biofilms formed, residues accumulated, minerals interfered, or your skin barrier became irritated? Consider rotating 2 or 3 anti-dandruff shampoos with different active ingredients instead of relying on one formula for months. To deal with buildup, do a deeper cleanse regularly, about every 2 to 4 weeks. Use a clarifying shampoo with stronger cleansing and little to no conditioning agents to strip polymer films and mineral deposits, so the next active ingredient can contact the scalp directly. If you live in a hard water area, look for shampoos that mention gelatin. A diluted apple cider vinegar rinse, which is mildly acidic, can help reduce an overly alkaline scalp environment and dissolve some mineral deposits. Finally, be careful with oils. Olive oil and coconut oil contain long-chain fatty acids that malassezia can use as food. If you struggle with dandruff, avoid applying these oils directly to the scalp. A safer alternative can be medium-chain triglyceride oil, because malassezia has a harder time metabolizing shorter-chain fatty acids. Once you see dandruff as a system problem, not a simple shampoo problem, the pattern makes much more sense. If you would like to hear more explanations like this, subscribing is always appreciated. And discussion is welcome.